YouTube world. This is Johnny Mo here, coming to you with part 2 of Estimating 101. This is the episode you want to stay tuned for because I'm giving you everything that you guys want in this episode. You want to know the formulas. Alright guys, here we go. Let's start off. Let's do a little bit of review. You know your numbers now. You've broken it down. I've seen some emails from some guys that are asking me some questions, working your numbers. And those are great questions. I'm glad it's going well for you. Basically, you know what it takes to run your company for a year. You break that down into the average hours you would work in that year. And then you get your hourly rate, how much you need to make for that hourly rate. So now let's go into how we do estimating. Let's go with lawn mowing first. We're going to do 4 areas. This is where some experience comes in. How long does it take you to cut things? You know, how long does it take you to cut a $35 lawn, a $40 lawn? And I want to introduce you to my little friend. I've been talking about my little friend for so long, but here he is. My little friend, the measuring wheel. $75 does all my estimates. What I do with my estimate, guys, is I streamline everything. I mean, I want to be able to pull up to a property. I always have my bid packages on me. Go back and look at my bid package video, and it'll explain everything that's in there. I want to be able to go up, and I measure everything, guys. I measure parking lots. I measure grass. I measure beds. I need to know how many acres of lawn we're cutting, especially for fertilizing. You need to know how much fertilizer you're putting down. So when I pull up a lawn, the first thing I do, a lady comes out, I just need an estimate for lawn mowing. So I measure front, sides, back, and any adjacent areas that might include mowing. So what I do is I get length times width. I take this length and width, and then I times it together, and I come up with a square footage of the property. Whatever the square footage is, let's say it's 20,000 square feet. You can do whatever numbers you want. You can do it $1 per 1,000 square feet, $1.50 per 1,000 square feet, $2 per 1,000 square feet. You put the number in based off of your numbers. I just gave you a formula. It's really easy. So let's say it was 20,000 square feet. I charge $1.50 per square feet. Here's my little calculator. 20 times 1.5 equals $30 lawn. I don't do anything under $35. So, you know, it's $35 no matter what. You know, so let's say 20 times 3 equals 60. It's a $60 lawn. So you put your number in, whatever your number is. You know, for me, I'm not going to tell you everything I do because I don't want to give you that stuff and then you just copy me. You know, you might not make it in your area on my numbers, or you might make it really good and never get a job. You know, I'm in my bracket, I'm the highest. So you decide what you need to make. 20,000 square foot lawn. Is it $4? It'd be $80. You know, $2.50. You decide, guys. You decide. So that was how I come up with the pricing. I get the square footage. Let's say it was $2. 20,000. That's a $40 lawn for us. If that's what I charge, $2 per 1,000 square foot times 20,000. That's $40 for that cut. And then I start looking around. Is there a lot of weed eating? You know what I mean? Is there a lot of weeding? Is there especially a lot of outside beds that doesn't go good with a pattern? You know, is it a corner house where you gotta weed whack the whole way around the house onto 2 different streets? You know, $2 extra for that. So now it becomes a $42. There it is. Now you know your numbers. How long will it take you to cut? You know, if your hourly rate for business is $40, you have to make $40 an hour. So that's a $40 lawn. If you just cut 1 hour, it takes you 1 hour, and then it takes you a little bit of time to get to the next place. You broke even. So, you know, generally with you and another guy in a truck, generally with the right pricing and the right tightness, the worst you'll do is 70. Upper limits are 120. I've done more than that per hour, but it's usually been dry, and we've been full sticking it, 2 Z's going. Not a lot of weed eating. So that's the lawn mowing side. Brief review. What we do, length times width. Then we times it by, say, $2, $3, $4, whatever you want to charge, whatever it takes. Now, can you charge anything you want? No. You have to be in the ballpark within $3 to $5 of everyone else in the town, or else you won't get any work. So you got to be in the ballpark. So knowing what other people charge is relevant, to the extent of you can't be, for a $40 lawn, you can't be $60. You're not $20 better than the whole town. You're going to find yourself out of work. No one's going to want to hire you as your company. So keep those things in mind. Measuring wheel is the key to this. The next thing is fertilizing. Fertilizing is length times width again. Square footage. I times it by a formula that I've come up with. You'd have to come up with your own formula. Remember, I'm putting a dry product down and I'm putting a wet product down. I'm putting weed control down as a liquid, and I'm putting fertilizer down as a granular. So at the beginning of every round, or sometimes I'll double up rounds, because sometimes rounds 2 and 3, a lot of people don't get round 3 around here because it gets too hot and dry and they don't want to pay for that. So I can double up the rounds. So I'll go to the warehouse, take the dump truck up to the warehouse, buy enough fertilizer for that round, and sometimes I can buy enough fertilizer for round 2 and 3. If it's too big, I can actually have them truck it to me and then put it in my storage unit. So that's how I redo it. Again, it's a formula. Let's say it's $4 per 1,000 square feet. Times that by 1,000 square feet. That's how you do things. It's really simple. Measuring. How do we do it? Off our profit. How much profit you want to make? If it's $50 and you want to make 30% profit, so a $50 lawn, and you wanted to make 30%, how much would that be? 30, 50, it'd be $15 more dollars. It'd be $65, so you'd make $15 on that property. That's how you need to do things. Simplify it. I break it down to formulas. Each formula is based on my number of what I need to make with a 30 to 40% profit margin. The average business in America averages 20% profit when it's concerning landscape and lawn care. The average solo guy should be around 30% profit. I try to get 30% profit on the job. Enough to pay my bills and 30% on top of that. That's how I do it. Sometimes I do better because, we got them packed in tight, but I still bid the job at 30%. No discount. I don't believe in giving a discount to, you got 3 houses lined up and it's my minimum is $35. I don't do anything under $35. Nothing. Fertilizing, I don't care if that's 2 passes with a spreader, it's $35. Sorry. 2 passes with a mower, $35. Sorry. Even if I line them up, it's $35, $35, $35. Well, you can probably charge them $25 and save everyone $30. What happens is someone dies. What else happens? They move. It never works out. It may work out the first year like that, and you can do that if you prefer. What I found, it doesn't work because you end up losing a couple during that, and all of a sudden you're coming to do one lawn for $25 and you're screwed. Or you go into a development, I've told you a story before, I went into development, had 9 lawns, gave them all a discount. They were legitimately $45, $50 lawns. I did them all for $32 a piece. We were humping them in 2 hours. It was great. But what happened? Now I'm down to 4 lawns in that neighborhood where I once had 9. And now I'm trying to raise the prices up. Now they should be $45. Now I have 32. I've got them up 34. Then I got them 35. Well, people lost their jobs. Some people moved. A few people died. And that's what happens. So don't know what you need to make and stick with it. No, don't cut them breaks. Because if you cut them a break, eventually it comes back to get you. And they don't care that it came back to get you. Well, I'll always have those 9 lawns. Well, no, you won't, honestly. I've been in this one neighborhood for 10 years, and some of them I've had. I've only kept 4 of them for 10 years. The rest of the 5, like I said, one guy lost his business, had to shut it down. Another person, died, or they moved, and then some people moved out, and just things happen. Now, this year I picked up 2 more in that neighborhood at the right pricing. So those are priced right. So fertilizing, it's length times width with the formula. Now remember, when you're doing a formula with fertilizer, you got to remember the cost of the product you're putting down. Like, I know to the penny how much the weed control costs to blanket a field. and I know how much fertilizer at 4 pounds per thousand, 20,000 square foot lawn, I'm going to need 60 pounds or 80 pounds of product. 4 times 20 is 80. So that's 2 bags. 2 bags, well, it's a bag and a half. We'll say 2 bags runs me, let's say it runs me, even it out, $20 a bag. That's $40 in product. You're charging $80. So there's $40 in price. Don't forget the little bit of weed control that you have to use on that product, on that property too. So it all goes into it. So those are examples. I want you to sit down. I'm really teaching you how to bid lawns. You got to streamline everything. You got to be able to, get onto a property. And this whole thing about I'll get back to you, I'll mail it to you. No, you give them that price right there. You be the first in line, and you give them the price. You stick to the price. You do a good job. You'll get lots of work. And so that's how we do that. What's next? If you have any questions about fertilizing or anything, just let me know. The spreaders, we use commercial Anderson spreaders. We use Agrium products. I think Agrium makes a good product. We do not use Lesco at all. I don't like their product at all. So that's about where we go from there. Again, length times width. Know your product costs. Know how much you're getting a bag of fertilizer. If you can, buy it in bulk. Buy it by the pallet. You get better discount. Buy it by the truckload. You can get a better discount. So let's go on to prune, edge, and mulch. Again, here we go. What do I do? First of all, I'll do edging. What I did is I timed how long it took me to hand edge a bed and how long it took to clean up. So now I have that formula. It takes me, I can do hand edge 240 feet in an hour of hand edging and cleaning it up. So I know how long it takes me to edge that. What I do is I put my hourly rate to that. What do I need for my business, and then what do I need for 30% profit? Boom, there's your hourly rate for that. Okay, now you got the edging part taken care of. I know how much it costs to get bulk truck mulch. How much is the delivery? How long does it take you to lay mulch? Okay, so we got a 6-yard job here. I can do 2 yards an hour. So that's 3 hours of work. There it is. There's your rate. 3 hours right there. Then you got an hour's worth of edging. 3 hours worth in labor of the mulch. Then you got 6 yards in mulch. How much is the mulch? Say the mulch costs you $25 a yard. You got 6 yards. How much is that? That's 30, 12, 30, 40, 50, 60, about $160 right there. And you got delivery costs. How you getting it there? Are you trucking it or are they trucking it? Add another $50 on for trucking. So you add all that together. Then now you got the pruning and the edging. So now, the edging and the mulching. So now you got the edging and the mulching. How do I do the shrub work? I go through, I know how long it takes me to prune, let's say, these shrubs. 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there. And I just walk around the house and I add up all the shrubs. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And it might only take me like a minute and a half to prune one shrub. I have different techniques that, I don't prune like everyone else. I prune from the top down. I don't prune from the bottom up. I don't go around and do the sides and, then I stand back and look. I'm so good at pruning now, I prune from the top. Why do you prune from the top up? Big Johnny mowing tip for you landscaping guys, baby! Crazy! Let me tell you something. You take the shears and you shear like this. Why? Because you're bringing all the clippings off. So you don't have to sit there and brush it all off and wait a little while and then it falls down and you clean it up. You got to go back, clean it up twice. I prune it one time. I don't have to go back and do it. I've gotten so good at this technique. A little tip of the side of the blades, just like this. Oh, big tip, baby. I just saved you money. So it might only take me 2 minutes to do a shrub. I charge 5 minutes. Why? Something always comes up at a job. It's hot that day. You might need to stop for an extra 10 minutes more than you would. So it all adds up. You end up making money. So 5, you might get a cherry tree that's out of shape. Might take you an hour. Boom, there's an hour there. There's a whole row of shrub that's going to take you 30 minutes there. Oh, there's another decorative, say, lacy leaf maple. Got to get up underneath there and hand prune that stuff. There you got some time there. Oh, that's going to take me 30 minutes. And you add up all the time. How much does your company need to make to turn the dollar? Then you add the 30% on top of that. Or whatever you want to make. It's 20, 30, 40. I don't know very many companies are dropping 40%. and getting it. You know, you're starting to get up there in price. But hey, man, if you can get it, go after it. Do what you got to do. This is the part where you need to know your numbers. So when I'm done, I add that all up together. Hour for this, 3 hours for that. Labor, I'll put down all the labor, and then I'll put down, you know, how long it's going to take, how much material we have. Finalize the bill and hand it to them. You know, or hand them the estimate, and they'll say yes or no. Guaranteed, full proof way. The only problem is you need to know how long it takes you to cut grass. You need to know how long it's going to take you to prune, edge, and mulch. You know, this only comes with time. I can't tell you how long it's going to take. You know, I know guys that I can do 4 yards an hour. Well, it takes me, I can only do 2. So I charge for 2. That's what we do. And we get work. You know, on average, a year, we're by no means are we very large, but we prune, edge, and mulch 60 accounts a year. That's with just me and another guy. I mean, we tear it up. You got it. We're fast. I mean, we get in edge out, boom. We have a Echo edger, and it edges it out real fast. But I still charge for as if it was a hand edge job, because sometimes, you know, if it's wet out, you have to hand edge it. You know, that edger ain't no good. I mean, if it's wet out, you can just put the edger away. So that's how we do that. Now, give you a big tip in there about pruning. Start from the top down. No one will teach you that, boy. They will teach you that. You got to go along the bottom, get the clip the bottoms, and you got to go around the side, then you got to come over the top, and you got to go up and down. You got up and no, we go down. We go up then down, not down then up. You get all that clippings off there because it catches on the blade of it, and then it just pours it over, pours it over. Pours it over. Woo, baby! Got you, Johnny Mo tip, baby! Takes a little bit of time to get used to that style of pruning. I've been doing it for, you know, oh, that's not how you prune. Whatever. We've been doing it for 15 years. Shut up. That's rude, man. Why you be so rude? I just think when people always tell you, oh, you can't do it like that. Oh, really? You know, they say that you can't, you got to hand prune rhododendrons, too. No one's paying you to hand prune rhododendrons around here. We're distressed area. We take those trimmers. The leaves will grow back. Just kidding with you guys. You know, snow plowing, same thing. How I come up with it is my little friend bails me out of everything. I'll length times with the parking lot, and you know, then I put my formula, whether it is $5 per 1,000 or $10 per 1,000, whatever you guys got to establish what you want to make. But you also got to be within the price range of what these other guys are. You can't be over. You can be less. As long as you can make money at less, then do it. You know, hey, Standards, you're a low baller. Oh, I'm still making money. So go do your thing. Quit crying. You know, the problem with these guys, let me give it to you straight. The problem with these guys that cry, you know, I'll give that. It'll be the bonus at the end of the video. I'll give you the bonus at the end. I'm going to stop snow. Why it's important for you to really get on measuring your lots, because most of the money's lost in ice melt is out the rear end of the truck. See, these guys have these big loaders. They load their spreaders up with all this ice melt, and they go out. Well, how much do you put down per 1,000? I don't know. We just push a button. We put it on setting 4 or 5, and we go. You know, we don't know. Well, because they're loading it with a loader, you know, hundreds of dollars are lost per year, even thousands out the rear end, because we just push a button, Johnny. I couldn't tell you. You run around, and then all of a sudden the lot's melted down and salt's on there for days. It melts the first inch of the next storm. When I say you need to know your numbers, you even need to know that part of it. You know, how much ice melt or salt does it take to melt a lot? You know, the temperatures make a big difference. You know, no one's going to tell you this information. They don't, you know, guys don't even like me telling you this information. I have formulas. You know, if it's 28 to 32 in full sun, you can use 7 to 8 pounds per 1,000 of salt to melt the lot. If the sun's out and it's 20 degrees, you only have to use 10. These guys are putting down, 40, 50 pounds per thousand. It's sure the lots are melting down, but you've wasted hundreds and hundreds of dollars per tons of salt for. Think, guys, think. Be that conscious. That's money in your pocket. That's why you can line up more commercial lots, because you don't have to charge, $80 to do a $50 lot. Why? Well, he's a lowballer. He doesn't know his cost. I know my cost. You just don't know how much salt's coming out of your rear end. Ha ha! Now, here comes my rant. Those are my formulas. Snow plowing, measure the lots, sidewalks, how much salt does it take? We got a formula for it. We can be in a property and bid it out. Our numbers are accurate. We keep on them every year. We review the profit and loss. We review how much it takes to run this company. We're always trying to make at least between 30 and above profit. Sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes you're 28 to 30%. We try to be on the numbers. That's the formula. But don't be this company. Let me describe you a company who's out there is crying, you're a low baller, you're a low baller. Don't get stuck in this disease of this business. And I'm going to end the video. This is Estimating 101. I just gave you the seeks of the trade. Here's the problem with this business, and I want to be serious with you. The problem with this business is when you grow and you grow and you grow, obviously you need to charge a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. All of a sudden you're at the top of the food chain. And you got a guy who's hungry, who's able to do a lot at $50, but you can't do that same lot at $50 anymore. It's the same thing why I can't go into the old neighborhoods anymore. Because I can't do those lots at $20 and $25. We have to charge $35. So we don't get a lot of those. There's new guys coming up. And I want you guys to be aware of your numbers, to keep your debt low, to keep that number, that dollar per hour low. There's guys in this business right now, and you're probably one of them right now. You're looking at me, and you're in over your head. You're not getting the bids like you used to. You're like, we need $90 an hour, just to cover the cost. And you're like, how can I do that? And it's going to be hard to turn $90 an hour, in this business. I mean, when you start growing your business, and every year the costs go up. You've got more zero turns. You've got more employees. You think the work's pouring in, but you're not getting the bids like you used to, because there's guys that are single and solo that get into this business every year. And what happens is they can charge the $20 and $25 and make it. But what happens is as they grow, their numbers grow. You can't get in over your head. You can't go truck crazy. You can't go zero turn crazy. You can't go ride on spreaders crazy. You can't go start buying loaders and salt spreaders and big plows and going crazy. You know what I mean? Because it all adds up. So you want to do this in steps, incremented steps, pay stuff off, and then add to the equipment. Don't be this company, these flash in the pans. They come in overnight, guerrilla marketing, and then they get like 100 accounts that aren't priced right, and they've got 2 zero turns, brand new trailer, 40 grand in a truck. They got a $5,000 plow. They've got a $5,000 salt spreader. They had to buy a loader to load the salt spreader. Then they got to buy $4,000 in salt, the truck to come in. They're broke. They're done before a year starts out. They don't know their formulas. They don't know their numbers. It's important to know your numbers. Like, well, why do you need so much profit? Right now, there's a salt shortage. They've been using so much salt, the price of salt's going up. If you don't have any money in the bank, then you can't get no salt, because now it's pay as you go. There is no credit. I don't use credit, me personally. I pay every bill, fertilizer, right there on the spot. Truck comes to my house, I have a check ready. Here's your check. I just spent $1,000 in salt. Here's a grand. Here's your check. Give me the salt. Why? Because we know our numbers. We got money in the bank. Transmission goes out. You got money in the bank. These are all unforeseen things that you need to have profit for. That profit isn't just for you to go on vacation every 2 weeks. Guys have good months, and then they end up going to Vegas and Atlantic City and all that, and they're spending all their money, and they wonder why they can't get their truck fixed. Like last year, I was going in reverse. I have about a $35,000 truck. I got about a $5,000 plow on it. And, I was going in reverse, and I smashed a light pole. ripped the whole right side of the back corner panel. Just destroyed it. I mean, it was bent in half and the bumper was destroyed. You know, it sucked that I did that, but I just jumped back in the truck. You know, I was like, you know what? That sucks. I should have been paid more attention. Now, that was expensive, but you know what? I went and had that dent pulled out, and it wasn't over here. Write the check. As soon as winter was over, took it to my auto body guy. He wrote the check. Here, whatever. Here's your check. I wrote it. Why? Because I know my numbers. I ain't gonna sweat that small stuff. I can't change where I've been, but I can change where I'm going. I can't change that I smacked that light pole and destroyed my truck. But I can. It taught me a lesson. Like, hey, I need to pay more attention. You know, I can't be flying around on these lots and damage my truck all up. I got to do things smarter. So you got to have profit. Get yourself some money in the bank. You know, you got overtime 1 week. Oh, man, the guys are killing me overtime. Why? Because you don't have enough profit, guys. You don't know your numbers. You know, if you're a solo guy, you can make $1 per minute or $45 per hour, and you can make it. But once you want to grow, once you step into buying the big boy trucks and you get into the $5,000-$7,000 plow range and the spreaders, you know, my tailgate spreader cost me $2,000. You know, salt alone this year was over $3,000. You know, that's nothing compared to some guys. Some guys got $20,000 to $30,000 in salt. But this is what I'm going through. See, I'm the medium-sized company. I'm the guy. I'm out there. I'm giving you the information how to grow your company. You know, I was just reading an article last night in the bathroom while I was, leaving a deposit on a $3 million company. I can't even relate to him. See, I can only give you what I have. I can't give you information on how to run a $2 million company because I'm not a $2 million company. I'm not going to sit and read a bunch of books and try to teach you on something I physically haven't experienced. I can't do it. That's why some of the guys on YouTube are struggling with the way they teach things. You know, you're not going to get a guy like me to sit and listen to you for a half hour talk about how to run a business, and you haven't even done $5,000 in a month. You know, I might listen to you, you know, just because you're entertaining, but, you know, when you start talking about business aspects and, you know, different aspects of business, and you're not even doing $5,000 a month yet, it's like, you sound rough. You know, no offense to you, you got to start somewhere. It's just when you start to become like, like you're a $30,000 a month company. You know, you're trying to teach a $30,000 concept, but you've never done $5,000 in a month. That's the trouble. That's why you can't connect with your audience. That's why you're entertaining, but at the same time, you're like, man, you're just sorry, man. I don't even want you to come up on my subscription because it's like you don't know, your perspective hasn't got there yet. This is the truth. You can only give what you've got. If you came to me and asked me for $20 and I only had 10, I can't give you 20 because I only have 10. I can only give you what I got. I can teach you to be a nice size company. I know what it takes to be a $200,000 company. I wonder why. I can teach you these things. And so that's my time on Estimating 101. Powerful video. Take notes. Keep rewatching it. Share the video. I don't care. Listen, I've literally got emails from people. I've gotten phone calls from people like, what the F are you doing? You don't teach people that stuff. Like, literally. I'm like, what do you mean what I'm doing? This is my channel. This is my office. It's my name on the wall. These are my shirts. And I'll tell whoever I want, whatever I want, anytime I want. Click. You know what I mean? Like, all these people that are calling me, I don't know how they found my number, but I'm not answering the phone, dude. I mean, you can call me, but I'm busy. You know, like, YouTube to me, it's a great thing. Like, today I made this video. Why did I make this video? Because I'm down in my office, because I spend a few minutes in my office to mark my books because I went out salting this morning. So when I'm in my office and my kids are at school, my wife's at work, I can make a video real quick. But, you know, after 4 o'clock, or dude, I mean, if I get a notification on my phone and I'm sitting in traffic or something, not traffic, but if I'm sitting in a grocery store or something and I can reply back real quick, I can. But, you know, this isn't my whole life. I'm giving you guys value. And to say all that, that's a different rant. But thanks, guys. This is the video of all videos, Estimating 101. get yourself a measuring wheel. Johnny Mo out, baby. Giving you the 6.